John, what is that one, or what are those some of the things you're seeing in this bill which you believe are, let's say, becoming the killing point?
So there's no doubt that, in my opinion, that listen, a lot of crypto, a lot of the tokens are not going to survive, because there's just so many of them, right? But some of your big ones, obviously, Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, Solana, I think that they're becoming part of the financial infrastructure. No doubt, stable coins are probably considered the most revolutionary type of product in modern financial history.
Hello, hi everyone. Welcome to yet another episode of Voice of Web3 powered by CoinGape Media. As usual, we have somebody very interesting for you today on the podcast. And if you remember the XRP versus Ripple versus the security token, or it was a utility token debate, if you remember the remarkable judgment that was passed by court that XRP is not a security, if you remember that whole struggle that crypto community was fighting at that time, the Web3 community was fighting, then you must remember a name, John Deaton. So, guys, today we have him on our podcast. We're lucky to have him, and he's one of the most respected people when it comes to law and order in crypto. And he will definitely help us to learn more, understand more what is happening in the crypto world, how we can safeguard ourselves in today's environment. So, guys, today we have John Deaton, a prominent attorney known for representing thousands of XRP holders in the SEC versus Ripple case, and a leading voice in crypto regulation and investor rights on the podcast. John, welcome to the podcast. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me. It really is a pleasure to be with you.
We were actually, one of the most, I would say, wide. We were covering this XRP a lot. I mean, of course, everybody's covering. There is this. It's a huge community, nonetheless. I mean, and your name, whenever there is XRP lawyer is a keyword that is attached to your name now. It's a
Yeah.
fight.
No,
It's a
no,
fight.
there's
Yeah.
no doubt, no doubt. I've been a mesothelioma lawyer, a lawyer who represents people who get cancer from
Mhm.
asbestos for 30 years. But everyone just calls me either the XRP lawyer or the crypto lawyer. So it's kind of funny. You're only known for what the last thing that you do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. And John, before we definitely go to some of the questions we received from the audience, some of the questions we have received from our community members as well. I would definitely like to first understand more about your work. What have you been up to since this Ripple judgment, and what are some of the important things you're working on today, so that at least audience is on the same page with where you are today.
Sure. Well, today, I the bottom line is back in 2020, I wasn't well known at all. I owned Bitcoin, Ethereum, and a little bit of XRP. I didn't have a large position in XRP. And when the lawsuit happened, I got angry, not about XRP, but about how the government, the SEC, was doing something that it had never done before. It was actually saying that this digital token, the underlying asset, this code, was an illegal security. And any asset can be marketed, packaged, and sold as a security. Gold has been used in the past, chinchillas, beavers, the actual animal beavers has been used before as a security. But the beaver itself was just still an animal, right? It's still a beaver. It wasn't an illegal security, but they were saying, no, XRP is in fact an illegal security, and it jeopardized the entire ecosystem other than Bitcoin. It just jeopardized everything else. And so that's when I sued the SEC, and then it just went viral, and 75,000 XRP holders joined me, and we made a difference because the judge actually cited the XRP holder affidavits that I submitted. The judge cited my brief, cited some other things in the case that I had done when she said that XRP itself is not a security. At the same time, then Elizabeth Warren was running for office, and she had a bill that was going to ban Bitcoin, self-custody of Bitcoin, self-custody of ETH or XRP or any token. And if her bill would have passed into law, then the only way in America that you could own Bitcoin or anything would be an ETF, right? You could just buy an ETF and that was it. You couldn't custody the asset, which isn't America at all. So I ended up running against Elizabeth Warren, and I didn't know if I'd run again, but I'm running again for U.S. Senate in Massachusetts. Currently, I'm going up against a guy that voted against the Genius Act. He's going to vote against the Clarity Act. He took an issue with Bitcoin mining and electricity use. He's against AI and the data centers and technology. And so he's been in office for 50 years. He's 80 years old. And so I think I have a shot at winning the U.S. Senate seat in Massachusetts. And so that's what I'm doing right now.
I mean, you just mentioned XRP and why my discussion is revolving around it, because it was a phenomenal moment for everybody. I mean, in a way, communities saw it as their own win when this judgment came out, and it gave a fresh breath, I would say, to other tokens, other projects as well, who were kind of at that time very uncertain about the future. So, John, my next question is more about people today. I mean, of course, if I compare 2020 to 2020 to now, a lot has changed, and I'm sure you are also following and you're on top of it. So, how do you see the current environment where we are again finally we are talking about Genius Act, we're talking about Clarity Act? Do you see them as a progress for retail investor, or do you kind of see them as Wall Street kind of bringing that in, and it will finally kind of maybe undermine the interest of retail again? So Clarity Act, Genius Act, what's your opinion on it?
Yeah, I think that it's the final green light. So if
Mhm.
everyone imagines a traffic signal, right? You have a red light, you have an orange light. Elizabeth Warren's bill, all that was a red light. It was going to stop you.
Mhm.
You couldn't go forward. Without Clarity Act, you basically we would be in the orange zone, right? But there would still be this unknown entity. What if a Gary Gensler comes in again,
Mhm.
and becomes the chairman or someone like him? He could undo everything because the rules that the SEC is doing right now are all just called guidance. It's not the law. Now, Genius Act is the law, but in order to get a green light for Charles Schwab, for Fidelity, for Vanguard, for BlackRock, for State Street, for these huge institutional players, they need 100% clarity that if they offer exposure to digital assets, that when we get a new president, if the new president doesn't like crypto and wants to go after crypto, well, they would have to change the law. Right now, if Clarity Act doesn't pass, imagine that President Trump leaves office in 3 years. It's a new president, and imagine Elizabeth Warren is in charge again, and she would be in charge of the Senate Banking Committee. She's the senior person. She's the chairwoman now, if the Democrats become control. And then she could put in another Gary Gensler, and all they could do is go all the way back to where it was, and lawsuits by the SEC, and we would just keep flip-flopping and going back and forth. You can't do that with innovation, right? Everyone would leave America, and it would go to the UAE and to Dubai and to Singapore and Switzerland or anywhere else across the world, and just say, we'll never get clarity in America. And so if we have it and it's signed into law, the chances of someone coming back and redoing a new law is very, very, very slim. But the chances without that law of a new SEC chair coming in and saying, I'm going to go back to the way it was with Gary Gensler, that could happen. And so that's really what's at stake. It'll be very unfortunate if we don't get the Clarity Act passed before the end of June. If we don't, I don't think it gets passed because we'll be in the middle of the midterm elections and everything will be about elections.
Thanks, John, for putting it in layman terms, and I'm sure everybody now understood that where this Clarity Act is and why it is so important for us as retail investors, because it will finally give us some form of protection. It will finally provide us some form of a safer environment when we are investing into any crypto material or any crypto entities. But John, one question we have received a lot from many of your fans and followers that I want to clear out so that there is not too much of chaos in our chat, and that is, given current we are sitting in 2026, if somebody today is holding a Solana or somebody is holding a Ethereum and they are actively trading it, are they doing something illegal, or is it completely safe in 2026 to say that these are completely legal activities?
No, this is considered completely legal. The judge ruled XRP itself isn't a security, and the SEC withdrew the lawsuit against Coinbase, where they were alleging that Solana was a security and that just about everything else, including Ethereum, in many ways would be. But no, right now, if you're trading Solana, XRP, any of the altcoins, pretty much, it's considered legal activity. I mean, Charles Schwab, I know, is getting into Bitcoin and Ethereum for sure in the next few weeks. But we have Solana ETFs, we have XRP ETFs, and so when you have an asset that is traded on an ETF, that's basically considered a commodity by definition because it's being traded. If it was a security or considered a security, then you wouldn't be able to have all these ETFs where these companies are saying, accumulating the underlying asset. I think right now, I believe that XRP, there's like 1.2 or 1.3 billion dollars in XRP holdings on XRP ETFs. I'm not sure where Solana is, but all of these things are now sort of getting ETFs because Wall Street wants to participate in obviously capturing fees and capturing some of this money. And so it's pretty safe right now. The real danger is, like I said, is if we don't get something that's written into law, then arguably somebody could come back and flip-flop again.
And John, what is that one, or what are those some of the things you're seeing in this bill which you believe are, let's say, becoming the killing point? I mean, I am sure that banks, crypto companies, even regulators, they are debating on this. Are there any particular points which you are seeing which you think that will become a bottleneck for passing this law?
Yeah, I mean, listen, right now, I think it's become much more acceptable in a traditional standpoint. I mean, listen, look at it this way. In 2023, Jamie Dimon, the chairman of JP Morgan Chase, was still saying that Bitcoin was a fraud. He was saying, and he testified in the Senate in front of Elizabeth Warren, he said that only terrorists and bad guys were using crypto. And he said that was the only use case. Well, JP Morgan today is allowing you to use your Bitcoin as collateral to buy a home or to take out a loan. And they're also obviously into the ETF business. So that's just 3 years, right? 3 years, 2023, only terrorists and bad guys use it. now JP Morgan is now a bad guy because now they're selling it and they have all these financial services tied to it. You have Morgan Stanley, who has come out and recommended a 1 to 5% allocation for your investment portfolio. So they're saying basically that you should have 5%. So if you have $100,000, you should at least have $5,000 invested in crypto. Some places are recommending much higher. Some places are recommending 20, 30% of your investment. And so there's no doubt that, in my opinion, that listen, a lot of crypto, a lot of the tokens are not going to survive, because there's just so many of them, right? But some of your big ones, obviously, Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, Solana. I don't want to miss other ones. You know what I mean? If I didn't say it, that doesn't mean it's not a good one. I'm just off the top of my head. I have a couple others as well. I think that they're becoming part of the financial infrastructure. No doubt, stable coins are probably considered the most revolutionary type of product in modern financial history, because stablecoin issuers are now, I think Tether is the fourth largest, or it could be third largest, holder of U.S. treasuries in the world. Like, they hold more U.S. debt than Japan, or Australia, or foreign countries. And so I think a lot of smart politicians see that stablecoin legislation and stablecoins is a way to drive demand for the U.S. dollar, because it's denominated obviously in U.S. dollar, U.S. treasuries, gold, things of that nature. And since it's 100% reserves, it's safe in that aspect as well. And when you see that, you have to think that the Clarity Act should have a good shot. The problem with the Clarity Act is that it's become part of a political football, because the Trump family is involved in crypto, and because Trump is so divisive, right? People love him, people hate him. Some of these politicians, well, they're like, well, we're demanding that there be a provision in the Clarity Act that prevents family members from benefiting, because, and then if President Trump might never sign that because it affects his family. So I hope it doesn't come to that, but that's my fear right now. My fear right now is that it's going to become about hating on Trump, and therefore they put in what's called a poison pill, where they put language into the bill that the president won't sign, and therefore it doesn't happen.
Interesting. I mean, definitely, we have seen already a lot of clashbacks from the other side, of course, in the Congress, that everybody's not pleased about his involvement, his family's involvement, the World Liberty Financial Project itself. And recently, we saw a lot of allegations between Tron founder Justin Sun and the WLFI management. So you are absolutely right. I mean, it can, or it may become a challenge where president himself is not signing it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, and there are some things that are troubling. I mean, we've seen people make huge bets just before a tweet goes out, right? Like on oil. And all of a sudden someone shorts oil 10 minutes before President Trump says that, the war is coming to an end against Iran. And then, of course, oil crashes and that person makes $200 million. And we've seen similar things with crypto. And so we do need to clean up the ethics. What's really, really frustrating for your viewers and for me and for you, I would imagine, is that here we always seem to go from one extreme to the other extreme. The first extreme was Gary Gensler, Elizabeth Warren. They're going to ban crypto, right? They're going to ban the self-custody of Bitcoin in America. And then they choke point 2.0. They're debanking people. It was like the government was set to like wipe out this industry. We go from that extreme to the Trump coin and the Melania coin, and there needs to be some sensible middle where you can have smart, tailored laws and regulations that protect retail investors and protect consumers, but at the same time allows innovation to foster and develop here in America. And so that's what I mean by it's unfortunate that politics gets in the way sometimes of smart policy.
Yeah. So, John, as part of your campaign running for US Senate, you have been, I'm sure, now at tables where regulators, policymakers are constantly discussing, debating with you. And it's quite interesting, or we are quite curious to understand that what sort of changes you are now finally seeing in these debates. Do you see people are more comfortable discussing crypto as compared to 2020? So has the table finally turned, or is there still a struggle to be done?
No, it's still a struggle. I mean, it's definitely better. Back not that long ago. I mean, but you still, there's this misconception and lack of education with some people. You'd be surprised when you get outside of like a few senators or Congress people, how many still they don't know crypto, they don't get it, they don't understand it. You'd be surprised at how many people still will say, well, isn't Bitcoin used by criminals? And you have to explain to them that actually Hamas, a terrorist organization, said stop using crypto, right? Because it's a distributed ledger. You can actually see every transaction. It doesn't say the person's name, but if it's a really good tool for the FBI or for the CIA, and that you would actually have to be kind of stupid if you were going to build a criminal enterprise on the blockchain, right? Because we can identify every transaction. And so when they learn those things, we still have to disabuse people of sort of these misperceptions that they have of what it is. A lot of times too, you'll run into people and they'll be like, I just don't get it. I don't understand Bitcoin. And they're almost intimidated by it. One of the things I've learned about life in general is how many people are intimidated by money and they don't understand it. Like most Americans have no idea that we have fractional banking in America. Like they have no idea, right? They're surprised when you tell them, no, the bank doesn't hold all your money. They only hold about 10% of your money.
Right.
And so if everyone went to the bank on the same day and said, give me my money, the bank would close because they wouldn't be able to do it. People don't understand that and they're intimidated. And I think Bitcoin and crypto, there's this intimidation factor for a lot of people. But it's better. Like you can't say that it's not better, but we still got a ways to go. There's no doubt in my mind that if this Clarity Act is passed, even though it's not listen, I don't like the bill that much, to be honest with you. Like, I think that you and I should be able to collect yield on a stable coin. You know what I mean? I don't like the banks. I hate the banks. I'll just be blunt. But they have a big say over our politicians. They're a
Mm.
huge lobby, and so you have to crawl before you can walk. And so if we have to make concessions to get the Clarity Act passed, you can always try to go back and make it better. But if you lose the window and it's just chaos, then we could always go back to a Gary Gensler kind of mentality, and we never want to go back to that.
Mm. So, John, one more question we have from the audience, and this question is more of a legal nature. What is happening in 2026 is people who have actually worked hard in crypto, they are losing this money, this crypto, either to hackers on one side and or to regulators on the other side who think that maybe this crypto was not accessed through right channels. Uh, so this is a question from somebody in the audience that how do today we protect, or what's the right way actually to get involved in crypto? Should we buy from Coinbase? Should we directly buy from exchanges, or should we wait for actually something like Nasdaq coming up with it in the form of trading? But what is the right way to get involved in crypto? So tomorrow, if some regulator comes to us and tells us that you did not access this crypto in the right way, and they kind of ask you again, they try to, let's say, rob you of your crypto holdings, what is the right way?
Yeah, this is probably going to be disappointing for
Okay.
viewers.
Okay.
Like I I know the whole purpose of crypto is to get rid of the centralized
Mhm.
intermediaries, right? Um, but the government has KYC, that stands for Know Your Customer. AML, anti money laundering, is what that means. So these AML KYC standards, I think the safest way to be in
Mhm.
crypto is to be on a Coinbase or to be on a major exchange, Kraken, Gemini. I don't get paid for them to say that, only because they have they're a
Mhm.
centralized authority, so they have to comply with AML, KY, all of these. They also have to show their reserves. Uphold is an exchange, and they have their reserves in real time to
Mhm.
show that they're not rehypothecating your Bitcoin or your Solana or whatever you have. They're not borrowing it out, so that if
Mhm.
you want it, you get it at any time. And so to me, that's the safest way. I know it's not what sort of the ideologue of
Mhm.
person to person, being able to hold your own keys, your own wallet, and exchange and avoid all of that. I think that there's a way to get there, but right now, um, if you ask me, it's not whether it's the right way. I'm just saying that it's the safest way,
Mhm.
because someone like Coinbase is a publicly traded company. They have to comply with regulations and things of that nature. And so, is it possible? Yes. Are they going to be able to, if they get an order by a court to seize your assets because they think you're involved in criminality, will
Mhm.
they seize your assets? Sure, they will. But the government, when it comes to money, you know, the government is going to have a heavy hand, and you want to be able to say that you've complied with those regs to stay out of the government's hair, is basically, or the cross, the
Mhm.
cross hairs. I don't want the U.S. government to really ever want to be interested in my life. Okay. um, and so right now, all I can tell people is what I do. What I do is, I have crypto investments. I have a Coinbase account. I have an
Mhm.
Upload account. I have a Gemini account.
Mhm.
Um, and I'm sure there'll be people that criticize me because I don't have everything self-custodied, but it's because of the plus I'm running for office, and so I have to disclose
Mm-hmm.
what I own, and that's an easy way to do it. Say, here's what I have on Coinbase, here's what I have on Uphold.
So, John, April in the April 2026 alone, uh, it's an estimation as per CoinDesk that around 650 million worth of crypto has been lost to hackers. And these retail investors, I mean, they have done nothing wrong except
Yeah.
then, of course, holding their crypto on maybe exchanges or maybe some DeFi protocols, but they have lost this money. Today, if there is somebody in the world who is hearing this podcast, can they do something about this, or we are just kind of waiting for some laws like Clarity Act to come our way?
Yeah, I mean, listen, this is really unfortunate. Right now, there's not much that can be done. The FBI, they're not even going to touch anything that's less than $1 million, right? So if someone has their entire life savings, let's say it's $50,000, and they
Mhm,
have it invested in crypto, and unfortunately, they they hit a link and get, some of these hackers are very sophisticated. They came after me. They just so people know, they at one point took over my Wi-Fi at my house.
wow.
And I was this close. If I would have logged into my account, they
Mhm,
would have wiped me out, and they would have taken more than half of my entire net worth. And I got suspicious because they were pretending to be from like Coinbase support, right?
mhm,
Or it was Uphold support. And so all of a sudden, my laptop, um, my account wouldn't work. I couldn't get on my account,
mhm,
and then um, a notice came up on my thing that said your account needs is in jeopardy. You'll get an email from Uphold support. And then I got an email that said, log in. And I didn't. I hesitated. And then the phone rang, and they called, and they were pretending to be from Uphold support. And they were like, no, go ahead and log in. But they were in control of my Wi Fi. So if I would have plugged in my password to my account, they would have went in and wiped me out
mhm,
instantly. And there's nothing that anyone could do about it. Like I would have had no recourse. Sure, I could have hired somebody to like track them on the blockchain and see where the money went, and then eventually it would go to like a tornado mixing thing, and then it would get here and go there. The
mhm.
reality is, people are out of luck. Uh, I wish I could give better news. Uh, the main thing to do is to um, be extremely suspicious of everything, right? You get
Mhm,
an email, you get somebody that says, if you have a Coinbase account, and all of a sudden you get an email from Coinbase support or a phone call from Coinbase support, assume it's scammers. And so anyone that contacts me about anything to do with crypto, I assume they're scammers. And then if they prove to me that they're not, that's something different. But right now, I wish I could say to someone who lost 20,000, 30,000, 50,000, $100,000 that you're going to get your money back, but the chances are you're not. And the only thing you can do is try to protect yourself as best you can moving forward. Now, one thing that I do want Congress to do
mhm,
is to have a very aggressive approach toward fraudsters and bad guys. You know what I mean? And figure out a way to try to come up with a system to go after these hackers to recover that money for people. Right now, we just don't have anyone doing that in the government, but I think we need somebody to establish that. I think the FBI needs to establish a crypto recovery type of unit.
Hmm. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, so and we also see. I mean, one of the ways we see it that will really help is to have more and more people in the decision making who like you understand crypto. First of all,
Yeah.
I mean, who can actually explain to these people that who are the bad actors and who are not, so that actually innocent people are not getting dragged into these investigations or these recovery processes as we are seeing globally right now, because it is very hard for somebody in the regulations regulator side or maybe in the law enforcement to actually understand who is the bad guy and who is not, because the transaction trail will be there, it will show the involvement, but how do you kind of go from there and tell, okay, this is a bad actor, this is not. So, I mean, we truly are supporting you. Uh, in the earlier podcast, we were discussing with Khurram Dara as well. He's running for, I guess, New York AG. He's running for that there as well. There are a few more couple of really good people in crypto who are trying to get into the decision making process, get into the judiciary, get into the Congress. So, our best of luck to you guys, and we will be there. I mean, our support is to you. You get there and help us, help retail investors actually at the end of the day.
Yeah, listen, I mean, one thing that I take pride in is that I'm always for the little guy.
Hmm.
I when I went up against the SEC, some people said, "Oh, he must be friends with Brad Garlinghouse or this Grippo or that." I never talked to them, never knew them at all, but
Mhm.
I knew that there were people who had $5,000, and that's all the money they had invested in it. Some people had part of their retirement account
Yep.
in crypto, and so we definitely need advocates in Washington who A, understand the technology, but B, they want to protect regular people, retail investors, more than they want to protect the Coinbases of the world.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I
Uh,
want I want Coinbase and free competition, and I want all of them to not be punished, but I'm always going to be on the side of the little guy.
yeah. Yeah. So, John, there is another right now narrative in the crypto market. If you see, people are excited about real world assets, these tokens, coins, which are coming up, which are trying to, let's say, tokenize whether money markets like bonds, treasuries, stocks, or maybe even the hard assets like real estate, tokenizing them. And there is again a huge excitement from the retail side, and there is a growing concern that does the judgment that Judge Torres did for XRP in the scenario there, does it apply to these new tokens as well, or is this a new breed of tokens we are seeing, which is not following the same judgments which were passed earlier? I mean, if I were to take an example, it will be like, for example, let's say Ondo, maybe, or let's say, for example, maybe the recent ones who are tokenizing specific real estates and people are buying them now. They are still selling them as a utility token, to be frank. These are not the security tokens that we have come to know in the recent times.
Yeah, I think that when you have someone like Larry Fink, who is the chairman of BlackRock, which
Mhm.
has $11 trillion under management, the largest asset manager in the world, he's talking about tokenization of real world assets all the time.
Mhm.
And I view I'm excited about tokenization, including real estate, and because I think it's a way to attack the affordability issue that we have in this country. So,
Mhm.
for example, a single family house in Massachusetts, the
Mhm.
average price is $670,000. People
Mhm.
can't afford that. So people have been priced out of owning this hard asset that has done really well, for people, real estate and appreciation. But
Mhm.
you can tokenize. So you could have an apartment building and a condominium or an apartment is, $1 million and you can't afford it, but
Mhm.
you can tokenize it and you could own a piece of it, right?
Mhm.
And maybe that one token represents 1% or half of 1%. And so, and since it's an actual digital representation of the real asset and you own it and it gets recorded, you
Mhm.
know, uh, just like any other asset, like on real estate, you are the property owner. You can transfer it, so you could then get some of the appreciation without having to own, the entire thing. And so, to me, that's a way of people participating in assets that normally they'd be excluded from, because you can obviously tokenize it and divide it up into more affordable pieces, so to speak. And so I think that that is free game, and obviously market, if clarity passes, you're going to see more and more companies get into that arena of tokenizing. All the stocks are going to be tokenized, and so you're going to have fractional ownership of just about every real asset there is, including gold, including precious metals, including commodities of every nature, real estate. And to be honest with you, you could even see the tokenization of professional contracts. Let's say a LeBron James of today, a new star is born, and it's the greatest soccer player in the world, and he's going to be better than Messi and all of
Mhm.
these others. His you could literally maybe buy a a a fraction of his contract, and that's an appreciable asset. So the reality is this: if you look at the 2008 financial crisis, ever since that date, when the America bailed out the banks, the
Mhm.
only people in America that have done well are people who have owned things: real
Mhm.
estate, stocks, bonds, precious metals like gold, and because of price appreciation. So in order for people to build wealth, they have to own
Mhm.
things that appreciate in value. And so the tokenization of those things expands the base of people who could own things and participate in price appreciation, because the government's only going to print more money. It's
Mhm.
just a reality. And the more money they print, the more expensive things are going to get. And the only way to participate in that economy is by owning things, and tokenization is a way to expand it.
Yeah. So, John, you're already, as you mentioned, you're running a campaign, and I would like you to kind of, help us understand, help the audience understand what this campaign is about, first of all, and what is the best way they can support you if they want to.
Okay. I appreciate it. Listen, I have um, uh, a site called John Deaton for Senate.com. Now, if you're an American citizen, no matter who you are, where you live, you can donate. And I would ask anyone, if I've done something that you think is good. I've never made any money as a crypto lawyer. All of it has been pro bono. So the SEC case and other things as well. And if you can afford $50, $100, $20, $10, $5, whatever it is, unfortunately, I have to try to raise money in
Mhm.
order to win. It's just the nature of it. And the billionaires don't support me, and the
Mhm.
banks and the companies don't support me. Just regular people support me. And I take pride in that. So, John Deaton for Senate.com. I'm going up against a guy that's 80 years old. He's been in Washington since I was 6 years old, and
Mhm.
I'm not. You can see I'm not very young. So he's been in Washington for 50 years, and he's just out of touch. We need a change. It doesn't matter what party he belongs to. No one should be in office for 50 years.
Yep.
And so I have a lot of fresh ideas. I think career politicians are the real problem in our country. Whether it's a Republican or a Democrat, it doesn't matter. Regular people need to be represented, and they're not being represented in Washington. We need people who've ran a business. I've ran a business. We need people who understand poverty. I come from extreme poverty. We need people who understand how our healthcare system is broken. Someone who brings fresh ideas. I think we need to push nuclear energy. It is the safest. It is carbon free. Yet career politicians like this guy, he doesn't want to even consider it because he's stuck in the 80s thinking about Chernobyl or some kind of thing that happened, 30, 40 years ago. And so it's just a matter of getting one of us to get to Washington that can bring fresher ideas. People can't afford to live. Regular people, like I said, the housing, people can't afford a house here. And so if they want somebody who goes to Washington, if crypto is important to them, the guy I'm going against doesn't support it. In fact, he voted against the Genius Act. He's against Bitcoin. He's against the Market Clarity Act. He's for the big banks. He wants the banks to be in charge of our lives. And if that offends them, then, donating $50 to me will help.
John, of course, I mean, we will urge our audience to support you every way they can, because
Appreciate it.
We need more and more people in the judiciary, in the Congress, to help support the victims. I mean, crypto definitely has given a lot of people a new life, I would say, but it has also been, I would say, quite negative for some folks, who have
I agree.
recently lost a lot of money. And people like you, once they are in the Congress, once they are in the Senate, can actually help them to finally, their voices to be heard. So John, our best wishes to you, and we will definitely put out the instructions on the podcast. We will put out the instructions on our publishing websites as well, and we hope a lot of people come to support you the way they came for XRP, the way they came for your earlier initiatives to support and help retail investors particularly.
Okay. Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate you, and everybody have a great day out there. Okay.